This is the hardest thing we've ever had to do. Marcus and I cry every time one of them leaves our home. Even when we build a relationship with a family, each of these 4 children will hold little bits of our hearts forever, even if we never see them again. And we pray for them and their families every day. If given the opportunity, we would be thrilled to adopt any of these kids. But it is important to know that the goal of the foster system is to help educate and to help the biological family be reunified with their children. We are not sure if fostering will be a forever thing, but it is the calling that God has placed on our hearts at this point in our lives. And right now, we are committed to doing our very best to answer the call for these beautiful, blameless children. That's my friends, Marcus and Rebecca. And I've got to meet 3 of those kids. Next, a little closer to home, share a story from Miranda Wetzler Clowney. Miranda is Penny Wetzler's daughter, and Tom Wetzler, that are members here and worship with us, and she grew up here, and I want to share her story. While at my now husband, then boyfriend's family home in South Carolina, I got inspired. Now I think it may have been divine intervention. My husband's stepsister told me about how much her big sister, through big brothers and big sisters, means to her. The woman has been a big part of her life, and even today, they are very close friends. So, I went home and signed up. Little did I know this would turn into way more. In September of 2014, I met my little, who turned out to be a 5-year-old little girl in foster care who very much needed a friend. I fell in love with her, and then my boyfriend fell in love with her and made me fall in love with him even more. Then, in March 2015, her foster mom told me that she and her 2 biological sisters who lived with her were going to be placed for adoption. Weston and I talked about it and wondered if we would be could be their parents. We thought we would take all the 3 girls out to the drive-in movie and see how it went. It was awful. Let's just say it was a long night. We decided we were not ready to be parents and passed on the adoption. I did stay my little's big sister, though. A month after that night, my husband and I were engaged and planning our wedding. We got married September 26, 2015, on our 2-year anniversary by the wonderful Pastor Tom. Did you all get that? If you're taking notes, Pastor Tom, wonderful. Life was good, and we were happy to plan our future. One day, Jill called to tell me the girls were being moved to a home with a couple who wanted to adopt them, and we were thrilled. We went to their lovely celebration goodbye party in December 2015, which helped us decide that we wanted to think about fostering. We signed up for our foster classes starting in February. On Wednesday, March 16th, I got a call that these same 3 beautiful girls needed immediate assistance. And if they could make it happen, would we take them? Without hesitation or asking Weston, it was 100% yes from me, and I knew Weston would agree. On Thursday, we cleaned and waited, not too patiently, I might add. Everything seemed iffy. On Friday morning, as we kept cleaning and putting together bunk beds in a bedroom, we were told there is no way we were going to get our babies. We were told the girls were going to a group home, since no one who knew them had room at the moment, and we didn't have the paperwork done. Jill's foster friends and their kids jumped in and helped us move boxes and clean our house just in case. Friday afternoon, some amazing fast work by a new hero of a case walker got us an emergency court order. We got a call that our babies were on their way. It was sudden and magical and unexpected. Friday night, we spent the night getting to know the girls while shopping. The girls came to us with 3 bags of random items and no underwear, toothbrush, or any basic items. Saturday morning, we had to leave the girls for a few hours with those amazing foster friends so that we could go to our foster classes. We went to a foster/adopt class and begged for help, this time in person for our girls. Our instructors made all the phone calls they could possibly make on a Saturday and once again told us to wait. That weekend was the most stressful and tear-filled weekend of my life. We had no ideas if the girls would get to stay past Monday or what would happen to them. We tried to make them call us by our names, but after the first hour, they called us Mama and Daddy. And it was then that Weston and I knew we would do everything in our power to keep them. God wanted us to be a family from the start. He put the girls in our life, and when we pushed away from the plan, He shoved them back in. Once we did get word they would stay, I went from never having kids to have 3 school-age kids. We jumped in the deep end. I can't see very well. I'm crying here. Since the previous 3 months had been so hard on the girls, we worked to enroll the girls into their old schools to give them some normalcy. The girls' old teachers even took them back into their classrooms. It's now been 4 months, almost 5, of countless court dates, doctors, dentists, therapists, caseworkers, and so much paperwork, I'm sure we killed a forest. And the girls are still not officially ours, but we are close. We have a lot of support and love, and that is everything to us. We've squeezed 10 plus years of marriage into 9 months and are exhausted. And some may also say a little crazy, especially the reason they're not here today. We are currently on a 4-week camping road trip with our 3 girls, ages 7, 6, and 5. But we are so in love with our girls and our family. It's all worth it. I had the privilege of being able to quit my job and stay home with the girls, something that was necessary with their special needs and our court dates, but also just a wonderful blessing to me and them. We still have that new house full of boxes we may never get to unpack. My husband has traded in his small car for a minivan. I do about 5 loads of clothes a day. I cannot describe the blessing that meeting fostering families has brought into our life. We have a whole new world of friends willing to talk at 1 a.m., then just tell you that it is your village. That's what your village is there for. And it really does take a village. Miranda closes with this. Every child deserves a home and a village to help them along their path. The goal of fostering is to bring children home to their biological families. And that is my wish for all these kids. But if it's not what can happen, they need loving adoptive homes. It's not easy, and there are days I question God for giving us this task. But then I wake up to 3 beautiful, playful, smart, unique girls climbing into bed on top of us for snuggle time. And I would not have it any other way. In fact, we may just do all this again to add another child to our family once the girls are officially ours. Our last story, to get a break from me reading, comes to us from our own Susie Rodriguez and Miguel. Watch this.
My 14-year-old alone through the craziest of circumstances. I was going through a terrible divorce when someone I knew told me that there was a baby at Halifax Hospital whose adoptive parents had chosen not to adopt him because he'd been born addicted. I asked if I could go and just love him until the parents who were next in line could be contacted, and as it turned out, all of the parents who were waiting to adopt decided not to adopt him because he had been born addicted. And that was okay with me because from the moment I saw him, I knew that he was mine. Years later, when my new husband and I attended an adoption Q&A, it was simply to support our children's pastor who had just begun an orphan ministry for our church. We'd not given adoption even the first thought. We'd only been married a little over a year, but I'd brought 3 sons to our marriage, 2 biological and my sweet adopted Jacob. All of our kids were potty trained. We could go wherever we wanted to with little preparation, and things were good. So we were just there to support.
And oh, your pain, won't you come and date?
After seeing the presentation from the different community agencies, including the Florida United Methodist Children's Home, and hearing the statistics that over 500,000 children in the U.S. needed homes, we had a very uncharacteristically quiet drive home that night. As we pulled into the driveway, Miguel and I finally spoke the words from the same heart. And even though it didn't make any sense in the natural, we worked too much.
We sure did.
We had a lot of church responsibilities, and we sure couldn't afford it financially. And most of all, we were broken and imperfect. But in spite of all of that, we knew that God was calling us to adopt.
Love is pouring out.
So 3 months later, time frame that's basically miraculous, we were licensed foster parents through Florida United Methodist Children's Home. About 2 days after we received our license, we welcomed our first foster child into our home, and over the next 3 years we would welcome about 10 more, kind of lived on our biblical mandate to care for orphans. At times we had as many as 9 children, teenagers in our home at one time. We always had several in diapers and couldn't go anywhere without 2 vehicles, extra hands, and enough equipment to stock a Babies R Us. It was happy, but it was crazy. Marcus and Dante appeared on our doorstep with their caseworker and a garbage bag full of their belongings on May 15, 2009. When they became adoptable about a year later, Dante, and 2 years later for Marcus, we couldn't wait to make them part of our family officially. We chose a new name for Dante, forgetting what was behind him and naming him Judah, since he had already less than 2 years old, became a child who loved to praise God. He was always singing in the back seat, and it was loud. That was pretty cool. When it was time for Marcus to be adopted, we allowed him to choose his own name, and he chose Josiah, which means in Hebrew, Jehovah has healed. As the court hearings began, the judge said, with a stroke of a pen, this child has been born into your family. And in a moment, the boys were adopted into our family, just as we have been adopted by Christ as his children. In that moment, all of the broken and imperfect pieces of our individual lives came together as a beautiful mosaic created by God himself. It was awesome.